What up, fools? It's your guy, Smoke Eye. Dark Cloud Fab, Albany Park, Chicago, custom motorcycle shop. And this is it. First episode, Moto Madness Podcast. I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not, but we're going to try to do it weekly. So it's everything motorcycling, motorcycle culture, what we're into, mostly custom stuff, because that's what I do. We're building custom bikes, we're doing custom parts all the time. So check us out, www.darkcloudfab.com. Check it out for any kind of custom stuff you want. If you don't see anything on there that you're looking for, just send me a message, man. All I need is measurements, maybe a reference photo, and I'll make whatever you're looking for. A lot of guys come to me because they can't find exactly what they're looking for. I'll make it happen, So, this week, and most weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to peruse some marketplace, check out what the motorcycle market is for custom bikes mostly. So we go through marketplace, maybe bring a trailer. This week we're just going to do marketplace. We'll go through some news articles, see what's going on in the world of motorcycling. Usually I'll pick the wildest stuff I can find, give you my opinions, thoughts, critique, whatever. I don't think I'm your typical biker dude, so I probably have a unique viewpoint when it comes to some of this stuff. So that's what we're doing. That's going to be the podcast. We'll probably do try to spotlight some builds that I've seen that I like. Maybe down the road, if this becomes a thing, we'll interview builders. They can run through all this fun stuff with me and talk about, everyone's got their own philosophy when it comes to building bikes, little techniques, whatever else can help you guys with what you're doing. So that's where we're going. Let's get moving with this. All right, we're going to start with marketplace. I'm in Chicago, so we're going to cruise around Chicago and see what we can find. Looks like we got a 1980s drag bike for 6 G's. Also looking for trades, apparently. Yeah, it's like, for those with just audio only, we're going to try to describe the bike. It looks like kind of like maybe a Crimson. I don't know, I'm partially colorblind, so what are you going to do? Good luck. Yeah. So it's a 1980s drag bike, track use only. It's got a Costman drag bike frame. Bike weighs 315 pounds. That is light, man. Air shifter. 3-piece custom welded rim. Yeah, it's one of one, I guess. 1350cc engine, 14-to-1 compression, bump box starter. He said lots of money invested. Yeah, man, you're just, I say this time again, it's a trope. I tell you this time and time again. You can put as much money in your bikes as you'd like. You're probably not going to get it out. Especially if you're buying parts, if you're not making your own stuff. It can be a crapshoot. So, you kind of do it for the love of it and not for the money. So it's a piece of history in drag bikes. Frame builder passed away, so it's a unique piece. Yeah. It's a cool looking bike. What do you say, Kawasaki? Looks like stock tank, stock tins. The rear tail fender looks like it's been modified. Looks like he's got some clip-ons on it. I'm wondering if that is. It looks like the stock forks. You'd think he would have upgraded them. Maybe put some valves in it. It'd be nice to have a little bit more information on what went into building this bike, because I'd be interested. It's got a huge set of wheelie bars on it. Yeah, the tail, it's got like a tail section then with the rear fender coming off of that. Like riveted little leather seat. Looks fairly comfortable. You'd think it would have been. I wonder if the frame has been stretched. It doesn't really look like it. But usually in drag bikes, you see, the frame is like radically stretched. Get a longer wheelbase. Not sure how that affects drag racing. Probably stability, maybe. But you see that a lot in the drag bikes. The rear wheel is like way out. Stretched multiple inches. Usually, if it's probably a swing arm bike. This is. They usually go deep. So it looks like he did a bunch of work on the engine. Looks like the stock carbs. I wonder if I wish this guy would have wrote some more information, because I'd be interested in to see if they did anything modifications to the carbs. We do carb rebuilding here at Dark Cloud Fab. From simple rebuilds to, if you want to do some mods, try to get a little extra horsepower out of it. Yeah, they're Mikunis. You can blend stuff. You can, I guess, like porting. Like what they would do on a cylinder head on a, like a drag racing car. You can do the same thing to carbs. You can bore out the Venturis and get extra power out. I'm not sure if all the time it's worth it, but it doesn't look like this thing's been messed with, which is surprising. Usually you want to, if you got a high compression motor, you're going to want to dump a bunch of fuel. So, I don't know, maybe they went all the way up on the jet size. But I wish we got a little bit more information. The pictures aren't super great. You could have been a little bit more artful. I'd like to, he's calling it's a drag bike. It'd been nice to have a video of it rolling down the drag strip. Yeah, I'd say a little bit more information and some better pictures and a video maybe would be good. Might get the money you're asking for it. I don't know if $6,000. I don't know much about drag bikes, so is $6,000 a good price for one? Doesn't seem that bad. Yeah, it looks like they're clip-on handlebars. I don't know if those are the stock forks. They look like it. Exhaust is kind of just, standard with like a boom tube. It doesn't look like the rear swing arm's been stretched. He's got some slicks on it. The tail's cool. It's like well shaped. I really like the style of it. But yeah, I don't know, man. This probably wouldn't be for me. I don't know if $6,000 is. I guess that's not a bad price if you're dying to go drag racing. I don't even think, did he even have numbers on what it does in a quarter? I don't think so. This guy might not have even taken it on the strip. So I don't know. That's up to you. What would I do this bike? Probably nothing, because this is just not my avenue. Why did I click on this bike? I have no idea. But this is not really my my scene, I guess. It's dangerous enough riding on these Chicago streets. I don't need to be ripping something down the drag strip. And speed is fun, but I'm getting a little old for that. I'm more into just cruising, and it's more of like a, I guess, meditative thing for me for riding. If I want a little bit more excitement, maybe I'd do some off-road stuff. But yeah, I think that's my philosophy on it. There, yeah, I wouldn't buy this bike. I don't know what I would do to it, because this just isn't my scene, but it's cool. And $6,000 doesn't seem that bad. He's saying it has history to it. I like that. And if you're dying to get on a drag strip with something, That doesn't seem like a crazy price. I'm sure like a Harley drag bike would be out of control money. So, yeah. So, Kawasaki drag bike. And let's move on to something else here. See what we got. Seems like slim pickings today. Here we go. Here's definitely on my scene. 1974 BMW R75. I like these old BMWs. I think we did one a couple weeks ago on a Bring a Trailer. They seem to be pretty inexpensive. $800 he wants. He's got an R75 6 project parts bike, no title. Then he's got a R96 frame fork, swing arm, rear drive, and that has a title. So you're getting two bikes. One mostly complete, I'm assuming, is the parts bike that he doesn't have a title for. And then basically maybe like a rolling chassis on the other one. So you're going to have to swap the motor out of the 75, put it in the 90, which, you know, that's easy for someone like me to do. Doesn't look bad. I'm hoping he took it outside for pictures, and it's not. This is not where it lives. It might be. It doesn't actually look really rotted out though. It's a little sweaty. Yeah, I don't know what draws me to the BMWs, old BMWs. I like the boxer motors. I don't know, something about the tank. I like the styling. I think, I don't know, they make kind of cool, they're cool actually in stock form, actually. I don't mind them in their stock format. But they make cool cafe bikes. I haven't really seen one as a scrambler. That's probably what I would do with this. Yeah, I think I would go scrambler. You probably wouldn't have to really mess with the frame all that much. You know, if you do cafe, then you're probably going to cut the rear subframe out and make a whole, like, you know, frame hoop and, you know, suspension, different suspension setup and all that. But a scrambler, you know, enduro, dual sport style. Probably just get some knobby tires for it. Spoke wheels are always awesome. I would probably upgrade the rear shocks. Maybe, I wonder if Race Tech does like valves for the front end. You know, like Scrambler, I don't feel like you need to do wild modifications for, so I probably wouldn't do that for this kind of bike. The bars actually aren't bad. I'd probably make my own set just because that's what we do here. Maybe with the little crossbar. That's classic, like, you know, BMX, Scrambler kind of style. That's probably what I would do. It's what I got on the Wolfenstein F7. So I'd probably do that. Like I said, Race Tech, they do valving for a lot of front ends. I'd have to do some research, but I wonder if they would have valving for this bike, because it's like I know you spend some money, but I think it's like if you don't want to change your front end, it's an excellent upgrade to throw their valves in it, and it really you can stiffen it or loosen it. You know, you can get a little bit more adjustability out of it depending on what you do. And I think it's a good modification to make if you're keeping something, you know, standard looking. So yeah, I'd probably do that. You gotta go through the motor, obviously. Suspensions, you know, big time. Handlebars. I like the headlight, you know, stock. The other stock lights gotta go. For a scrambler, I'd probably put like a little cage over the headlight. I always think that looks cool, especially for like, dual sport, something you're going to ride on the street and off-road. So I'd probably do that. Get rid of the gauges. Maybe do a Moto gadget or some kind of cheap Amazon small one. Probably ditch the mirror. Lighting. I'd probably do my own exhaust because, that's what we do. That's what I do. So something's always gonna be like one-off custom on any bike I own. Or, that I'm moving down the road or giving, building and then offering it up to someone else. So, would I buy this for $800? Hell, motherfucking yeah. I might have to contact this guy. 2 bikes for $800. I mean, I am chock full of bikes, but I always wanted a BMW. So, all right, let's move on to motorcycle news. So we're gonna kind of every week go through probably a couple articles, something that I find interesting. Hopefully you do too, and yeah, just give my opinions on it, kind of talk about what's going on in the world of motorcycling. So this is Benda, is I guess a Chinese brand, never heard of them. But I don't know if it's an upstart or if they've been around for a long period of time. But they are building a hybrid boxer engine, which, we just talked about the BMW. I like a boxer. It's cool. It's unique. It's you don't see it all a lot. They're kind of a classic design, horizontally opposed cylinders. Performance-wise, I don't know if I feel like nowadays with technology, you can get performance out of just about anything. So, at this point, it's almost like what looks cool for that style of bikes. So it's a hybrid boxer. They're saying I think it's a 250cc, which feeds an electric motor. And they designed it around, they call it a P51, so it has probably like an aircraft kind of design to it. It definitely looks unique. It's they're calling it a naked bike. I think it looks like it's got a monoshock, little rear fender. It looks like a custom bike. It's hard to tell if the engine is floating or not, but that might be the case. It might have like a lattice frame. It had like a rear hoop into the seat, kind of interesting tank design, interesting front. It looked like fork covers. I'm assuming they have a standard hydraulic fork, telescoping fork front end. But it looked like it had some interesting, new age futuristic covers. So, and it's a hybrid, so that is definitely interesting. They're saying it's 250cc, but the horsepower is comparable to modern 600 to 700cc middleweight naked bikes, which is pretty impressive. Weighs 392 pounds, which is, I guess, not too heavy. It's heavier than I would expect a 250cc would be, but I guess that electric motor probably adds some weight. They said it's about the same weight as an MT-07. And if it has power numbers similar to that, it's very interesting. I don't know how I feel about hybrid bikes. The styling is pretty cool. I like the lights. It looks like a custom bike. Very slick. It's got a little like up kick bars, boxer engine. Yeah, it's got like a monoshock, swing arm. Really like beefy kind of swing arm. It even's got, wow. Looks like it's got a fender, like a mud guard in the front of the rear wheel, and then it's got like a, like a little rod style frame out to the rear fender, I guess you would call it then, which is like a little on the back side of it. Probably holds the taillight and whatnot. Definitely has like custom vibes to it. Okay, 62 horsepower, 74 pound-feet of torque. Which I guess with the, combining with electric motor, you get, the torque number up there probably. It's probably, I wonder how, like a full electric, you got instant torque. It's like that. It's 1, 2, however you want to go. So I wonder how a hybrid works. Is that, I'm sure there's some lag with the motor feeding the electric. Be interesting how it drives the bike. Okay, it says aluminum frame, so that probably made it a little bit lighter. Conventional, like I said, telescoping forks, aviation inspired touches. It's a cool looking bike. I don't know if it's for me. I don't think it had a price either. But it's definitely interesting. I like to see innovation coming about. Boxer is cool. 250cc with electric motor. It's a cool looking bike. It looks like, like a custom bike. I wonder what kind of production run they're going to do with this. Yeah, so, to each his own. How do you feel about a hybrid bike? I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know what kind of extra maintenance goes into it. What's the battery setup looking like? Yeah, I mess with some hybrid cars, and doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But, when you put 30 pounds of shit in a 10-pound bag, it gets a little rough, dude. And you start putting sensors. I mean, what is the electrical setup looking like on this bike? I don't know. You're throwing hundreds of sensors on things, then things get muddy, and it doesn't take much for it to get down, So I'm of old school philosophy, less is more. I want to have a couple screwdrivers and some wrenches and be able to do what I can on the bike, especially if something happens. But it is an interesting concept, and I'm not going to hate on it because innovation drives everything forward. So, you can go too far, obviously, but I think this is an interesting alternative to an electric bike. You can still have the old school, the sound, the hot ass engine between your legs, and you can maybe get, like that instant torque with the electric, and, the benefits that come with an electric bike. And I don't know if it's really any better for the environment. I mean, bikes, I think in general, if everyone was riding bikes, it probably would be better than, riding around in cars all the time. So, they say a transatlantic flight is, worth like, 100, 200,000 cars on the road. So you can save all the environment you want with electric vehicles, but they're still flying planes around. And power generation and all that, that stuff's never going to get out of here. So, yeah, hybrid bike. Tell me your thoughts. Check it out. Benda. Never heard of it, but very interesting, cool looking bike. All right, we're gonna move on to the next one next article that I found, and this is about Ryan Wedding, who was an Olympic snowboarder turned drug kingpin. Insane story. Why am I bringing this up? Dude had like, how many bikes? Does it say? I don't know, it's like 90 bikes in a warehouse in Mexico. They're saying worth up to like, I don't know, $4 million or something. I don't know if I believe that, but a lot of like vintage one-off, $40 million they're saying. That is out of control. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I don't know if it said how many bikes there are, but $40 million worth of bikes. I guess who's buying them? I don't know. But he had like one-off race. I don't know if they had been raced or 62 bikes. So do the math. 62 bikes for $40 million. That seems crazy. I mean, are all these bikes $1 million? Just about. It would have to be. I mean, do the math. It's got to be. Each bike is $900,000, $800,000. I don't know, dude. But it looked like a lot of like maybe like supermoto track, road racing type of bikes. Maybe one off. Maybe they had been raced. I would think they would have to have been, from the race teams. Because, I mean, how are you going to get that much money out of a bike? Or they're just inflating the numbers, which I'm assuming is the case. But he had a whole stack of them. And you can see in the picture, it's wild. And apparently he was running cocaine or something from Colombia through Mexico, through California, into Canada. Yeah, it looks... And he just amassed a whole collection of motorcycles. And it looks like they were all raced. It's hard to tell what kind of racing. It says, I mean, they got team names on them. They don't really go too into detail on the bikes. But it is wild. So yeah, this guy's running coke. I think they said cocaine. Yeah, from Colombia, I would assume. He's running his shit all the way up to Canada. And apparently was a former Olympian snowboarder. I think he's Canadian. Just a wild-ass story, dude. But, I guess if you're making a shit ton of money, why not buy 62 high-end motorcycles? I mean, I wonder if he ever ridden any of these. I would hope so. Honestly, they found these bikes in Mexico. I mean, if he was a real G, he would just like had all the kids come over and just have a whole fucking, I don't know what kind of track, if they have tracks in Mexico or something, or he could probably, with that kind of money, he might shut down some streets, just have the kids come out and take these bikes out. That would be super fun. But I'm assuming that didn't happen, probably because he's a greedy motherfucker. But if he was a man of the people, that's what I would have done. Have all these kids that never seen these bikes, just take them out, have fun with them, hopefully not crash them. Just make their day. But he probably didn't do that, so I'm just making up shit. But anyways, yeah, he's a drug kingpin. I think he's on the lam still. Yeah, I think they're still looking for him. God knows where he is. But he made a bunch of money, cocaine money, and bought a bunch of, I'm assuming, one-off bikes. And hopefully rode some of them. Maybe when they catch him, he can do some interviews and tell us like how the bikes were. But I thought they don't care about that. Very interesting, weird-ass story. Olympic guy, motorcycles, drugs. I mean, this is straight out of the, I don't even know, 90s, I guess. This could be, I wonder if they'll make a movie. So yeah, that's the news this week. Drugs, high-end bikes, hybrid bikes, all that shit. So now we're going to do a spotlight on a build that apparently is pretty old. This article's from 2011, but something that I was very interested in. I've always seen in the past and wanted to just talk about it. And I thought it was a really cool idea, and I'm doing something very similar. So it's the Black Falcon, which is builder Ian Barry, basically recreating the Vincent Black Shadow in, I guess, his image. So it's apparently the third of 10 concept bikes that he's doing under the name of Falcon Motorcycles. And it looks cool, man. He definitely took design cues from the original. If you don't know, Vincent Black Shadow is like one of the most, I don't know how to call it, I guess premier classic vintage bikes. I mean, it is like the top of the mountain. They go for huge money. I'm not, they had unique engineering in that time. I think it does say it was the world's fastest standard motorcycle for 25 years. So way ahead of its time. The design of it is badass. So I think that's why it makes it so popular. It's just the engineering and design aspect of a vintage bike is just unmatched, I guess. So what he's doing is he's basically making a custom that like pays almost homage to it, and he's actually using a Black Shadow engine. So the project I'm doing, not using the Black Shadow engine because I don't have money for that. So he found it in pieces, I guess. It was modified for drag racing, dry lake speed attempts in the 50s and 60s, which is very common for these bikes. They were built in the 50s. That was like the heyday for the beginnings of hot rodding, and that involved, Southern California, West Coast. You go on a dry lake and you just see how fast you can freaking go. And that's one of the oldest. Land speed racing is probably one of the oldest motorsport around. It's definitely a thing to see, to push the limits of everything. So I could see a lot of motors, being in that condition. So kudos to him. As they said, they went through everything, blueprinted it within 1/10 of a gram, lighter and stronger. 75 horsepower. And he said it's like a Swiss watch. Yeah, if you blueprint it, blueprinting is basically, there's manufacturer, I guess, tolerances. Well, you take that to the next level. You're getting down to like hundreds of thousands of, tolerance between moving parts. So it definitely takes things to the extreme. A lot of drag racing guys do that. You put everything on the ragged edge and make everything precise. So respect to him for doing that. That's cool. And the styling looks similar. I mean, obviously he's got the engine. He took mostly the styling cues from it. And let's see what else he did. Everything else was basically fabricated from scratch. They said frame, forks, brakes, tanks, handlebars, hand and foot controls, seat, mud guards. Everything completely redesigned, reconsidered. said the forks are based on Vincent's hydraulic design, which is basically, it's kind of like a leading link, and then it has, on the back side of it, it has like basically shocks, or like hydraulic shocks, which I guess can be similar to a telescopic fork, but it's more like a shock. So it's got like a front tube going down to the axle, and then behind it, with a, I don't know, bracket, I guess, has the shock going up to the trees. So he designed his own set. On my project, I am going to do something similar, but I might do like more like a, I don't know, adjustable strut kind of thing, because I always like to take things to like modern, try to increase the workability of it, the usability of it, try to improve on the design. Doesn't always look as cool, but it might ride better. So I did brakes too, which is, I don't know, I've never fabricated brakes from nothing. It says double-sided 4 leading shoe design. It's got the fin kind of drums to it. Then he's got created a swing arm, triangulated swing arm. Sorry, I'm still a little sick. Then he made the tank, which resembles I think they said the road, Vincent came with 2 different tanks. I think it said the Roadster tank. So definitely well-designed tank. And then they're saying half of the frame is used as the oil tank, which is, I like to do as well. I think this is why I like motorcycles, is because they can be artful, but they also serve a purpose. And I think that's important. I think, to me, at least. I like creating art, but if it's just art for art, I don't know, it just doesn't really do it for me. Like, I'll just, like Christmas just passed, and I should pause this. Christmas just passed, and when your son, your dad, your husband is a fabricator, welder guy, usually you're gonna get metal items for Christmas. So I usually just make a bunch of stuff. I try to think about the person that I'm making it for, and what kind of things they like, and then tie it into something that might be useful for them. So, like my daughter, she's a big reader. So I made like a book stand, and it was like stainless steel rod bent up and around, so you can put a book on it. And then, I had leaves and a bird, and, so it had like an artful aspect to it. Even the leaves and like a branch, they would swing up so you could hold the pages of the book. So it's like an art piece, but it also can be used for something. So I don't know where I was going with this, but that's kind of, I guess that's why I like motorcycles, because you can make, every single bracket you can make can be an art piece, but it serves a purpose. It can mount the engine, or, tie into the front end, or whatever you want it to. So back to this. Ian Barry's, I forgot what he called it, Black Falcon. Yeah, so it looks clean. There's the front end. Yeah, so that's showing you. It's got like a couple links from the trees. You got a big tube going down to the axle. Then mounted to the side of that is, which is also connected to the links, is those, what they're calling the hydraulic forks, which is, I don't know, those almost look like a telescoping fork. Like I said, with mine, I'm probably going to use like an adjustable shock strut kind of setup. just because I think that would be interesting. And I always like to have some adjustability to it. So that's kind of what I'm going with. I guess we can talk about what my plans are. So the XV 920 I had, the engine was donated towards the Faro chopper. It's in a Moto Guzzi frame. I believe Ambassador 72 or 73. Hardtailed it, made it fit with that frame. So that's the powertrain went to that. So I was left with the frame, which is a Vincent frame. Is like it's not a lattice frame, but it has like a similar properties to it, where it's just, you got your neck, and then it's like almost like a stamped structured frame instead of like a standard down tube, and then the motor just floats from that. Usually it mounts at the on top of the heads, and then somewhere usually on the rear side of it. And then into the swing arm, brackets of the swing arm. So the XV 920 has a similar frame style. So I thought, why not? This is, so basically I'm going to use that as a starting point and make a black shadow, tribute with that. It'll have spoked wheels. I was really looking for like an Indian or maybe a Triumph motor for it, and then figure out how to mount it. I'll make the front end myself. Like I said, I'll probably do a similar style, but with like a shock and a strut. The rear swing arm, it'll have a monoshock in the rear, although the original Vincent actually had, I think, 2 shocks that went to the swing arm. As you see here, I think Ian Barry also did a single shock. But I believe they did dual like center shocks into the top of the swing arm. But yeah, that's chain drive, obviously. I probably, man, if I could find an Indian motor, I think that would be ideal for me. Just because I think it's, the Vincent motor is obviously unique. It's a V motor, but it has different. I don't know if the degree is different, or it's got a lot. It's not a standard Harley V twin. So I think an Indian would be interesting in what I'm doing. But what Ian did, I don't know how much of the spotlight is this. I have no idea. But I mean, his styling is perfect on this. So he did monoshock in the rear. The fender is exactly how I would like it. It stops right where the rear axle line is. So many guys go buck wild and do crazy things. Vincent is kind of like a bobber. It's almost like the first bobber. Handlebars are cool. He's got like a little the tank is wild, dude. Very interesting design. Exhaust looked cool. Yeah, so shout out to Ian Barry, man. This is old ass. So probably people have seen this. I wonder if he did. They said this is a third of 10 concept bikes. God, I really should look into his stuff. I wonder if he actually completed 10 by now. I mean, this is 15 years ago. So probably should have looked at the day before I started talking about this, but this is always something that inspired me. The kickstart, everything is just beautiful, man. He did a wonderful job. Made mostly everything himself. So that's my kind of people, man. And this is what I want guys to be doing, So respect to Ian Barry. You're the man. I hope you're doing well. I hope he built all 10 of these bikes. And someday I'll have to check him out. So check Ian Barry out. He's sick ass builder. So I think that's it for this week. Moto Madness Podcast. Yeah, so this is kind of what we're going to do. And I don't know, things might have went off the rails this week, but I'll try to tighten it up. Yeah, so we're just going to check out the motorcycle market that, includes marketplace, custom bikes, bring a trailer maybe, see what, whatever I find through the week. Same with the news, maybe a wild article and then something that's like going on in the industry, something new. So hopefully it's interesting to people. And then we'll try to do a builder spotlight. And then, I don't know, I might get into some, like, music, books. This thing's just going to be all motorcycle culture. So maybe things that I feel are, like, important for people to read, to listen to, and whatnot. So we might get into that next time or as this keeps going. So, yeah. Listen up. I'm going to probably try to put this on all kinds of platforms, audio, and then, video on YouTube. And until next time, Smoke Eye, Dark Cloud Fab, Chicago. Peace.